The recent BRICS summit highlighted a topic, sending waves throughout the financial world. According to the New York Times, it was a glimpse of the world to come, as dozens of nations gathered in Russia to discuss life outside of Western control, as well as the role of the Federal Reserve note. What appears to be grabbing attention is the interbank system designed to free BRICS nations from depending on the U.S.-dominated SWIFT system, and by extension, the U.S. dollar. So in this video, we're going to talk about how the BRICS dollar-free system would work and its potential benefits, as well as the role projects like mBridge might play in the future. And most importantly, why Western institutions are pushing back and what's at stake for the global economy if they don't. So let's talk about this one. All right, so wanted to take a minute and share some thoughts in reference to some recent announcements as to what might be brewing under the surface in reference to all the institutions coming together now to try to slow down the BRICS momentum that took place from the last meeting they had a week ago. So as of right now, the CBDC format is still on the table with the interoperability of the payment networks that the BRICS are working on, but it looks like China's inclusion in the BIS and IMF mBridge protocol could be stirring up some trouble right now, as the global banking cartel appears to be somewhat concerned or scared that things are gaining too much traction and too much momentum right now, and so they're looking to just basically slow things down as best they can. But then again, in time we'll tell if it actually works or not. But I want to share some thoughts on it, and of course get your thoughts. So feel free as always to put some comments down below. Let me know what you guys are thinking. What's your take on all this? And then more importantly, if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that thumbs up button to show your support for the channel, and then tap that bell so you'll always be notified, and then subscribe so when I put out these videos that you'll be informed and can stay one step ahead of the mainstream narratives. So ultimately, the question is, what exactly is being proposed with this system changes that they're talking about doing? So while major players appear to be pushing back, so what's really at stake is the biggest question. So ultimately, the BRICS vision for the future is a world without dollar dominance. During the summit in Kazan, Russia, President Vladimir Putin pitched what some might say is a radical financial vision, which is a world where the BRICS countries transact without relying on the US dollar, allowing for more control over their own economies. But utilizing a multi-currency system is aimed to prevent US-led sanctions from stifling the BRICS economies, which is a goal gaining traction as sanctions on Russia have intensified and geopolitical conflicts continue to ensue. So under this vision, the BRICS nations could shield their financial transactions from Western interference, offering a significant advantage for economies often at odds with U.S. policy. And as you can see from this map here, the United States is known for enforcing sanctions all around the world, all the way from Russia being in the red where it says comprehensively sanctioned jurisdiction to where you see the yellow countries where there are targeted sanctions for individuals and entities that, quote, threaten peace and stability or ultimately go against what the Western puppet masters actually want to accomplish. And then you have nations in purple, and then you got the blue nations, which are just basically targeted sanctions on nations that they want to keep out of the financial system for the time being. But the biggest question, how exactly would the BRICS actually pull off what would be considered the greatest decoupling of the monetary order to date? And that's basically going outside of the US dollar dominant systems to conduct business on their own. And answer that, look no further than the distributed ledger technology that every nation appears to be working on. Here's an article highlighting some of the main points that came out of the BRICS meeting last week, and it says here, BRICS Plus expands plans from DLT payments to DLT clearing and depository. And as I scroll down here, it has everything to do with what they call the BRICS bridge. And so it says here, the BRICS Plus meeting in Russia, the group published a 100-point statement with a small part of it touching on payments that's mentioned below. It says plans for a new cross-border payment system called BRICS Bridge have been discussed for some time now. Additionally, Russia is now pushing for the BRICS-based security system to provide clearing and depository reportedly, which will also be DLT-based. And a part of the system includes the BRIC Pay, which we touched on in the past, and then most importantly, the BRICS Bridge system. It says, in recent times, the main focus has been on the DLT-based bridge as a way to enable local currency transactions, potentially CBDCs. It says the use of the word bridge is not a nod to mBridge, the cross-border payment system co-developed by some of the BRICS members that has reached the minimum viable product stage. It goes on to say that notably the group is in the process of open sourcing the mBridge code, which might make it easier for BRICS members to adopt the same framework. And so ultimately, the concept would allow direct currency exchanges between the BRICS member central banks, bypassing the SWIFT and reducing the need for intermediary banks. So ultimately, it'd be savings of billions of dollars that would otherwise line the pockets of the Western banks via transaction fees. And so in theory, it's a game changer. By either copying the mBridge protocol and using it for the BRICS system, it would allow them to basically have secure, cost-effective transactions that's non-dollar denominated between all those countries that I mentioned earlier that's on the sanctions list and more. So the next thought is the mBridge blueprint. And how far along are they actually to being able to implement all that? So here's an article to highlight some of the details as to how the BI debates ending the cross-border CBDC project called mBridge. And then it goes on to say that the mBridge design enables commercial banks to make cross-border payments via their central banks using wholesale CBDCs, of which the design encourages direct local currency payments, sidestepping the need to use US dollars as well. And so for cross-border payments, banks often either use the correspondent banks or keep bank accounts, the destination where they're sending the funds, which are expensive to maintain as they tie up capital. And as part of the mBridge, of which China's role as a chair to this group has them in a position of being a technical working group and developing some priority components, including a Chinese blockchain consensus mechanism that's associated with this bridge. And then you factor in some of the more recent developments. It says since January post, the BRICS has launched Project Agora, another cross-border CBDC project, but one that supports corresponding banks. So unlike bridge, which has 2 BRICS members, which is China and the UAE, no BRICS member are involved in the Agora program. And so with all that said, because you have the UAE and China that's a part of the bridge process, therein lies the conflict of interest to where the Western powers that be are concerned with the fact that China and the UAE may operate in the best interest to help out Russia and the rest of the BRICS organizations, because the bridge protocol, if it becomes open source, the BRICS nation can actually just copy it and then use it for themselves, which will be their way of bypassing the dollar as well as the SWIFT system. And so it seems like this whole bridge could be put on the back burner because they have their Project Agora, which appears to be somewhat of a complementary type of system that works on using whole CBDCs, which are designed to be used for the commercial banking side of things amongst nations as well. So ultimately, while the BRICS nations are exploring financial autonomy, Western institutions are not sitting by idly just waiting for the dollar to be dethroned. And so now that the IMF and World Bank are rumored to be drafting policies to curb this new system, fearing it could weaken the dollar's dominance, there's been more insights on how the BIS debates ending a project eyed by Putin to undermine the dollar. And we should look no further than comments from the BIS General Manager Augustine Carstens when he said on Saturday at an event of the Group 30 in the U.S. Capitol that, quote, "We cannot directly support any projects for the BRICS because we cannot operate with countries that are subject to sanctions." I want to be very clear about that. So ultimately, that reaffirms the fact that the BIS will be on board. We're putting the bridge project probably on the back burner in pursuit of probably the Project Agora or something else, so that their plans aren't thwarted on taking the world towards a CBDC type of project. And so while the dollar still dominates the global finance, these alternative platforms and systems that's being worked on appear to be chipping away at that power bit by bit. Hence the concerns over the technology falling into the wrong hands. The nation's quest for a dollar-free financial system signals a clear shift in global economics. So this initiative isn't just about financial independence, it's about a strategic play against the dollar's political power. And so as BRICS nations seek financial freedom, Western institutions seem determined to protect that status quo. So once again, just taking a minute to share with you what's happening and how there appears to be a scramble on the back end as to who might be the leaders of this next world order that's in the works right now. And so the scuffle appears to be between Eastern forces that want to move on and away from the days of old, and then you have the Western Hemisphere nations that want to keep things dollar-centered so that they can oversee this current reset that we're in right now and have power as we head into the next phase of this digital revolution, obviously led by the distributed ledger technology that everyone's going crazy about right now. But anyway, just wanted to take a minute, share my thoughts. Curious to hear what you guys think. As always, don't want to point out all the problems, but I'll continue to remind you of some strategies and some solutions to all this digital mess that they have us heading towards. And of course, that equals getting physical gold and physical silver in your hands as a way of protecting and preserving everything you work hard for. So as always, if you want to find out more, links in the description for the mysilverteam.com, where you can actually work with me directly and get physical silver in your hands and help others do the same and be rewarded for your efforts. And then last, they got the 24 karat gold notes, which is the cheapest way to own fractional gold in your possession as we reach all-time highs in gold prices these days. But anyway, just wanted to share with you what's happening. To stay plugged in as well as to find out more information, definitely scroll down to the description. All the details you need is there. And drop a comment, hit that thumbs up button. Make sure you subscribe if you're new, and take this and share it so more people can find out what's really going on. And I'll catch you guys later.